respond to what happens. We respond to our perception of what happens. Number two, of all the possible interpretations, we choose the worst one. Now here's the learning. First time in your life that you felt hurt and angry, that when you perceived somebody didn't care about you or didn't respect you, what hasn't happened before? So whether you're going to hell or you're on the way to heaven, it all happens out here, which is such a powerful teaching, because this is what we can work on. You can see yourself as the victim of the world and trying to change the world so that they won't hurt you anymore, or you can actually empower yourself. And that's what the healing is all about. And anybody listening, I just want to know, it doesn't matter what state of mind you're in, it doesn't matter what you're experiencing, it's human, it is transmutable, it is transformable, because that true self that you got disconnected from is still available to you. The quote, which I love, is from one of my favorite teachers, and his name is A.H. Alms. And he says, your conflicts, all the difficult things, the problematic situations in your life are not chance or haphazard. They're actually yours. They're specifically yours, designed specifically for you by a part of you that loves you more than anything else. The part of you that loves you more than anything else has created roadblocks to lead you to yourself. You're not going to go in the right direction unless there's something pricking you in the side telling you, look here, this way. That part of you loves you so much that it doesn't want you to lose the chance. It will go to extreme measures to wake you up. It will make you suffer greatly if you don't listen. What else can it do? That's its purpose. I found this to be true of physical illness and mental problems and everything. You got to see what is the teaching here. So we can look at all these things as problems to get rid of, which is what the personality wants to do. Or we can look at them as learning opportunities, which is what your true self wants to do. Now, some things. One is you talked about intention in life. So my wife and I had a holiday recently in Costa Rica. Partly it was a working holiday, but partly it was just a holiday. Traditionally, we've had terrible times during holidays. Partly because I work all the time, and once I go into a holiday, I just collapse, and now my wife is dragging a corpse around. So this time, we actually want to do a holiday with intention. This is nothing but psychedelics. Just to do that, we set an intention. What is an intention? And if we have an intention, I learned from a couple of very wise teachers, what structures we want to set up to support our intention. And how we're going to handle when there's kind of disagreement or conflict. Make a beautiful holiday. Because it was the first intentional holiday that we've had. So that intention in life in general is absolutely essential. Every morning, what is my actual intention? This is something I do in my groups or when I teach. I ask people to tell me some recent episode when they're upset with somebody with their lives. Something that they won't want to share, so it doesn't have to be anything sordid or something, but just something else, whether it's a spouse, partner, a bus driver, a friend. Okay, so what happens? There are a number of issues in my own broken aspects of home, things that were falling apart or needed to be fixed physically. Okay, yeah, right. And I had hired someone to do these things while I was gone. Okay, and they came back and none of them were fixed. Okay, and your emotional reaction was anger, rage, anger. Okay, anything else besides anger? Frustration. I was disappointed. Disappointed is sadness. Well, disappointed is not so much an emotion, it's a state of mind. I'm asking what the emotions were. What's inside disappointment? Something didn't happen, I wanted it to happen. How do I feel? Isn't there sadness there? Yeah, sadness. So is anger and sadness. Those are the emotions. So I'm going to ask you a silly question. What were you sad and angry about? What does that mean that they didn't fulfill their commitments? They didn't care about me, they didn't ask that they didn't respect me, so they didn't care about you, they didn't respect you. What kind of person doesn't get cared or respected? Somebody doesn't deserve to be cared for or respected. Is that? It's not unworthy, right? If there are other people here, which there usually are when they do this exercise, I would ask them, okay, we just listened to Tim tell us about this experience. Are there other reasons why this other person might not have done the work that has nothing to do with him or her not caring about him or not respecting him? So what other reasons might there be?
A million and one.
Name one.
Yeah, he could be in the hospital.
He could be in the hospital.
His partner carried one. Could have been in a car accident.
Exactly.
He had a flight delay and got caught on Puerto Rico during a hurricane.
Yeah, he's got ADHD.
Yeah.
He can't follow through. He's under stress and he couldn't. Okay, any number of possibilities.
Yeah.
Now, of all the possibilities that you just outlined, including that they don't care about you or respect you, which is the worst one. So let's notice something. I should say we, because we're all like this. We don't respond to what happens. We respond to our perception of what happens. Okay, that's what the Buddha said. That's what our minds are created the world. So that if you'd found out ADHD or you were stressed or you might have been sad for him, but you would not have been angry and you would not have been sad. So first of all, we don't respond to what happens. We respond to our perception of what happens, to our interpretation of what happens. Number one. Number two, of all the possible interpretations, we choose the worst one. Thirdly, what I just said is true. We didn't choose it. It's not like you went through all these possibilities and you said,
well, it's multiple choice.
Yeah, I choose. But you didn't do that. Your brain jumped there automatically, right? Well, the question is why?
Yeah.
Right, here's the learning. First time in your life that you felt hurt and angry that when you perceived somebody didn't care about you or didn't respect you, what has it happened before? Most people I talk to, it goes back way back in the childhood. And that's what trauma is. We don't respond to the present moment. We respond to the past. But along the lines of our discussion, it's a beautiful learning opportunity. Now you get to know. Now what if you assume for a moment that you're the most lovable, most worthy of care, most worthy of respect person in the history of the universe, and this guy doesn't do you wrong? What's your response?
Any number of the other options which does not trigger an intense negative emotional state.
So something in you, I would argue, still believes that you're not worthy of care and respect. And that's what gets triggered. So who's the one that doesn't care about you? Who's the one that doesn't think you're worthy of respect?
So it could be.
You. So that's a learning.
So it is.
And this is exactly what you're talking about. You're saying how these difficult things, how these problems are always teaching opportunities. And that's the beauty of healing, is that when you reframe things and you actually see the source within ourselves, all of a sudden, that's liberating. Because guess what? If you think that way because this guy did this or didn't do that, that makes you a victim. But if you see that you're the source, now you're powerful. So whether you're going to hell or you're on the way to heaven, it all happens up here, which is such a powerful teaching, because this is what we can work on. And if we're victims of the world, Ramana Maharshi, who's a great Indian guru, he said something like, if your foot hurts when you walk outside, you can do two things. One is to wrap the whole world in burlap, or you can get a pair of shoes. You can see yourself as a victim of the world and trying to change the world so that they won't hurt you anymore, or you can actually empower yourself. And that's what the healing is all about. And anybody listening, I just want to know, it doesn't matter what state of mind you're in, it doesn't matter what you're experiencing, it's human, it is transmutable, it is transformable, because that true self that you got disconnected from is still available to you. So it's not a question of just talking about what happened in the past. It's a question of how do we reconnect ourselves. And what you're describing about your own state, if I can put it in one sentence, you'd probably agree with me, that you're probably much more connected to yourself than you used to be.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. That's the prerequisite.
And that's why I feel the way I do.
Exactly. hope people will listen to you in a very personal sense. And that discussion with you will help people look at themselves in maybe a new way. So rather than self-judgment about stuff that went wrong or they did to themselves or others, they get curious. What made me do that? They get curious compassionately, because we were all born innocent and we were all born just wanting to be loving and loved. And then something happens, and then it's a hard road back. But I hope that this conversation helps people reconnect with that path or encourage them to continue it. And secondly, not to see it as an individual issue. It's a social issue. We live in a society that really does disconnect. So it's not just an individual problem or an individual family problem. It's multi-generational. And we talked about the multi-generational nature of trauma, what it is. We pass this on from one generation to the next, not because we intend to, but because we can't help it. So it needs to be looked at in deep over the generations and broadly as the function of a whole society. So that the Buddha said that without the many there cannot be the one, without the one there cannot be the many. And he talked about the interconnected core rising of phenomena. So we are social creatures, our brains are wired together. So whatever you're dealing with, you have to look at not just the individual internal environment,